Hello and welcome to the Keto Man's Club podcast.
We're glad you're here, where each week we talk about men's health and lifestyle.
We do so with the foundation of the ketogenic diet and lifestyle.
If you don't know what keto is, stick around and you'll find out.
The podcast will bring you real, honest fun.
Each week we strive to uncover the tips and tricks that you can use in your everyday life to maximize your overall health.
Find the clearest path to becoming the best version of yourself that you were meant to be.
Eat meat, lift heavy, sleep, and repeat. We call that our life cycle, made a shirt about it, and it rings true with who we are as a podcast and a group. We are fortunate enough to have partnered with a company who can help us achieve one of those three key elements: Som Sleep. They have a keto-friendly version of their delicious sleep aid drink, and we're loving it. It's a lightly flavored 8-ounce anti-energy drink. You drink it roughly 30 minutes before you're ready to go to sleep, and you'll feel it help you into a deep, restful, all-night sleep. It provides some helpful elements to do so, including magnesium, GABA, and melatonin. When combined, you have a powerful tool for getting the impactful sleep that you and I so frequently don't get in our technology-driven, fast-paced lives. You can find it at some retail stores, but you can also purchase it online and get it shipped to your door. When you do, use discount code TKMC10 and you'll not only be getting 10% off, but you'll be helping support the Keto Man's Club. You can find the link to their website by going to theketomansclub.com. We're thankful to Som for partnering with us, and we hope you'll benefit from the use of their product the way we have so far. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Keto Man's Club podcast. My name is Chris. I'm one of your hosts, and this week I'm joined by Jim. And oh wait, Berto's not with us. Where's Berto, Jim?
He's somewhere. Did you cue up the Carmen Sandiego theme song? Where in the world? I think he's somewhere between Texas and the Midwest. So he's between you and between me, basically.
Yeah. I don't know where they stopped last night, but he spent the week up in the Chicagoland area, visiting family and celebrating their son's second birthday. So that was fun. I get to see some pictures from that. He got to see one of our group members' strength. Was it not strength, but
he was competing.
Aaron Overstreet is one of our members, and he's a strongman, a strongman competition. There we go. And he did a 500-pound squat, I want to say.
It was right around there, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Like he did the 280. Berto sent the video of the 280 at one point to us, and I'm like, oh, he did that easy. Like he didn't have to like he just did it. Like there was no effort. So yeah, Aaron is an absolute beast. We're lucky to have him as part of the group. So yeah, it's great to see that, and they got to hang out and do a little something together. Berto is not with us this week because he's on the road right now with his family. Probably barely holding on to his sanity with 3 young ones in the vehicle. I know his wife is doing a great job of keeping that under control as best as she can. Berto's not one to let someone else drive, though.
I'm sure that they're discussing. He's having the kids study and recite about the different cuts of meat and learning about that. I could see him. Or, some sort of brisket song or barbecue song. Yeah. The wheels on the grill go round and round.
Yeah, I could totally see that. That totally, I could see them doing that. Only it'd probably be in Spanish because, why not?
Yeah.
Anyway, we miss Berto, but we're glad that he got to spend some time with family. That's really important. So let's take care of some business. For our listeners, a reminder: we would covet your support in any way, shape, or form that you can, whether that be a review on Apple Podcasts or Amazon, or even subscribing and liking this video on YouTube. Yes, this is going to be a YouTube video, and we're sharing more and more of these as we create them, because we've got a new platform for that. So please share these videos and subscribe so that you don't miss an episode that goes on. So yeah, we have that. Then you can also find all of the links to our groups, the Facebook page, the Instagrams, everything at theketomansclub.com. And you can, if you'd like to connect with us in some way, shape, or form, you can email us at theketomansclub@gmail.com. Or I'm sorry, actually, ketomansclubpodcast@gmail.com. The other one's a valid one too, but ketomansclubpodcast@gmail.com. Or you can call or 512-518-6161. So you've got a few different ways to connect with us. We'd love to hear from you. Any ideas, any comments, any things that you have that you would like to share with us. We'd love to hear from you. So lots of ways to do that. Any club news? We're continuing to steadily grow and all of that.
The 101 Club, the Keto 101 Man's Club, is well over 900 and should be coming up to 1,000 members probably in the next month or so. Definitely by the 1st of June, I would say, at the very latest. Yep. So that's a good thing. On the unfortunate side, a lot of people were looking forward to KetoCon 2021, which was going to take the place of KetoCon 2020 because it didn't get to happen due to the pandemic, and KetoCon 2021 is now pushed to KetoCon 2022. Yep. So it is what it is. We'll see what happens, and hopefully everybody gets their shot if that's what they decide to do. And if they don't want to do it, it's your decision, no problem. But hopefully we can make it happen next year.
I think that we're gonna we will see it next year for sure. They'll have something this year, probably virtual in nature, like similar to what they did last year, but it's just not the same thing as being able to connect with all those people. My favorite part wasn't the sessions or the lessons learned, but really connecting with other people in the community. And so there's rumors of a BertoCon at some point in time this year. Some type of a get together here in Texas. I know Corey wants to do it in October. Verto wants to do it around his birthday, so we don't. We'll see what happens. Just keep an ear to the ground. You never know what might happen on all of that. So lots of cool growth with that. A reminder to all of our listeners. Also, we have our merch store open all the time now. So we'll still have some releases. I don't have a new design for you right now, but we did re-release Steaks Over Shakes, and or Steaks Are Greater Than Shakes, and you can order that on the website. And then once that order comes through, we will, it's kind of made to order type thing. So it might still take a couple weeks to get to you, but we have kind of the raw ingredients somewhat close at hand. And so we can make those relatively quickly and get it out to you. So go to our website, theketomansclub.com, and the merch link is there. We've got shirts, we've got hoodies. Right now, we've got the stickers. I don't have my water bottle anywhere close right now. Otherwise, I'd show you the vinyl sticker. And so we've got a couple different items there, and we'll have some new designs hopefully in the near future. I just haven't had the chance to work on all that lately. So, but we wanted to make it available for anybody to get something now if they wanted to. So check that out at theketomansclub.com. I think that's all the real big business. I do want to mention I don't have a recorded thing for this, so I'll throw this out there. NutriSense has been very gracious to go ahead and share with us a discount code for the NutriSense continuous glucose monitor. This podcast will have aired after the CGM episode, and want to make sure that people know that we have that available for you. Let me get that up here real quick. The discount code is TKMC25, and that will give you $25 off the first month of a non-trial membership. So if it's one of the 3-month or later, or greater memberships, you can $25 off the first month. And there is a link on the website for that, but you also can just use the discount code TKMC25, and that will give you the ability to get $25 off your first month. So that's a great opportunity to try something. I know Corey Madrowski is doing that right now, doing a month of it, and he's finding the information extremely helpful. He found that he's extremely sensitive to sucralose. So he's going to basically not be able to do pre-workouts ever again because they affect his glucose too much. So very interesting stuff that it can show, because we're all so very individual, and this gives us that near real-time data that is just unlike any other. That is enough business for now. Let's jump into our picks of the week. Jim, who'd you got?
Mine is to Matt Eaton, who is a Oklahoma boy. He has crossed over into Wonderland. Posted a photo up mid-March of hitting 198.7. Don't have a starting number, but 198 is below 200. So congratulations to Matt on hitting that milestone.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a hard one. Like, I've been pushing towards that for a while. I really want to land at or around 200 if I can. And it's been one of those things. Every time I get a little bit close, I sabotage myself, and I'm really good at that. So, it is what it is. We've got my pick for the week is Gregory Hooper. He did a 75 hard challenge with carnivore, 75 days mindset challenge at 49 years old. He can say with no exaggeration that he feels better than he ever has felt in his entire life. Quite a few things listed here as being achievements with that, and the things that he did. Looking at these before and after pictures, you can tell, even though there's only about 15 pounds difference between the before and after of that 75 days, the definition and everything else, you can see that hour and a half of working out every day has paid off, that the mindset's there. He's got it down. And so really, when I saw his post, I was like, okay, yeah, he's my pick of the week. So that was an easy pick for sure. Congratulations, Gregory, for all you're doing, all you have done, and all you're going to continue to do, I should say. Anything else before we dive into our guest?
I don't think so. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Yep, I think so. It's gonna go a little faster because it's just you and I to go off of each other a little bit. So this week's guest is actually my brother, my personal friend at this point in time. He's somebody that I've had the opportunity to get to partner with to edit his podcast and videos for him on his side of things called The Superhuman Life. And he has an organization that he's created called Rebuilt Recovery. And his focus is to help men break the shackles of the shackles of addiction, specifically to pornography. And he's going to talk about more of that and whatnot. The reason we're having him on the podcast is that, whether we realize it or not, there's a lot of men out there that they think that strip clubs or pornography intake or the over sexualization of most media is really not a big deal. Like, it's just kind of is, and all that type of thing. And the truth is, on a biochemical, on a neurological level, it actually is doing quite a bit of damage to us. And so, since our mission, since our passion as a podcast is to help men become our best version of ourselves that we possibly can be, his mission is in alignment with that. We want to be the absolute best husbands that we can be. We want to be the best men that we can be for society. And we want to be the healthiest mentally and physically that we can be. And this affects all of that. Frank, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us on a Sunday evening and get to share what you have to share. Give us a little bit of your background, why this is a passion for yourself. You can easily refer people to your first episode where you tell your story in depth, but give us a Cliff Notes version of that, and we'll link to that first episode so that people can really get it in depth.
Yeah, no, and thank you both, Chris and Jim. I mean, I'm just blown away the first 10 minutes of this podcast. I'm already inspired. Like I need to get to work. Like we got a 500-pound bench press, we got a 75 hard accomplished, we got another 20+ pound weight loss transformation, body composition transformation there. So this is real powerful what you guys are doing, and I'm incredibly grateful to be here with you guys. So thank you for welcoming me here tonight. And yeah, I think like you said, Chris, if people really want the deep message and really the story of transformation and the journey that I've been on for these last 2+ years, go check out that first episode. But to give you, I guess, kind of the quick elevator pitch is I was somebody that I guess the way I say it now is I'm a still recovering porn addict. Much like every man, the introduction to pornography came at a very young age. Pre-internet, so this was kind of your hustler-esque type of magazines, and yeah, you said something there with it, not really being looked at as something that was harmful. That was really me for 20+ years, and I spent some time as a competitive bodybuilder in my 20s, always chasing physical excellence. Achieved it to a degree that very few people will. But really during that time and through my 20s, there was always something that I felt was kind of off. I struggled through depression and anxiety. Call it ADD, just kind of lack of really being able to bring a task or project to completion. And then just a series of events that obviously, if I get into it, it'll steal all of our time here tonight. And I really want to be able to provide some value. Just a series of life transforming events. Being introduced to some real powerful men, which is why I'm a huge fan of shows like this that bring men together and help men achieve greatness, because I've been very fortunate with mentors and friends and being around the right type of men. So through a series of events and it really, culminating on February 14th of 2019. It's funny, the day that we celebrate love. I'd been in a relationship for almost 4 years at that time. That was, for lack of a better word, was a broken relationship. I mean, we were living together, but we were roommates. And I knew that at that time I'd been doing a little bit of research on the impact of the brain. And I made a decision, and in sitting in a car, having a conversation, talking about what we're talking about tonight for the first time ever, my life changed. I made a commitment to multiple individuals, multiple people over the course of a few days. It led me to literally tearing a computer apart with my bare hands. And, the rest has been history here. 3 months later, my life transformed. I went through what now I understand was a reboot. I literally rewired the neurochemistry in my brain, and I began to see a different world. Things really began to open up to me. All of the impact that it had, all of the ways that it's held me back in the 35 years of my life prior to that really came to surface. And that put me on a trajectory where I wanted to get this story out into the world. And that was the genesis of the Superhuman Life podcast. And July 8th, we launched that, which was the first episode. The sole intent of it back then was to just share my story and bring other people on that were struggling, not specifically with porn. We've had a few issues or a few episodes in the early days, but it was really about overcoming adversity, overcoming struggles. I think we live these, we live these lives in our own box, and we think that our problems are, we're the only people facing a problem or facing a trial, and realizing every single one of us has obstacles. Every single one of us has chains of some nature that's holding us back. So I wanted to be able to have conversations with people, because at that time I'd been a fitness influencer. I had somewhat of a media following. I had an email list. I've been running a fitness business. So there were people that were listening to what I had to say. And I mean, I took a leap of faith when I shifted the conversation. But that just really opened up a lot of other doors. Initially, it was all about, just like I said, just a mission-driven purpose, to have conversations to help inspire other people. But then, a few months went by, the messages in my inbox began to change. I had been coaching men. I'd been a fitness coach, online trainer, et cetera, et cetera. Had a lot of great success over on that side of things. But the way that men started to reach out to me, it was more of a, first of all, it was thank you, thank you for what you're sharing. I've struggled with this in my life, because we all have, every single one of us has had this challenge at some point in our life. So initially it was those, and then in late January of last year, I took another leap of faith, and it said, hey, I think now, and this was through a series of people really encouraging me to step out and try to coach men. I was able to leverage some of my fitness stuff. So in late January was, I guess, when I launched Rebuilt Recovery. I mean, I didn't have the name for it back then. I didn't even have the curriculum. I literally just said, I think I want to be able to help a couple guys. And I was fortunate to have a few men sign up right in that first week. So the first couple clients literally let me build my curriculum as I worked one-on-one with them. And now we're 13 months in, and we've had over 800 guys come through the program in one way, shape, or form. I've personally worked one-on-one with somewhere near 40 right now. So that's a significant, amount of lives changed. So I don't know, Chris, where, here we are, we're March 2021, we're ramping things up. I mean, Rebuilt Recovery has now become, my number one focus. I still run some fitness stuff. And then I have, a small little, media company that produces the podcast and a couple YouTube channels that I manage. But our mission is to help men, quit porn and rebuild their life and become the man that they were created to be. So just like you guys are helping men, become the greatest version of themselves, I've taken that and, given it my own little, swing, and it's helping men become the man that they were created to be. And I directly help them by removing porn, but then really setting up a plan for their life. And then, I guess we can kind of take it, from where you want to go there, Chris.
So we've seen several of our guys that have, let me rephrase this. Let me start over. Our group started as this keto group, talking about way of eating, fitness, and whatnot. So a lot of the issues of addiction started off as being food related. But then as time has grown, our group is a private group, so the outside world can't see things and whatnot. Trust is built and whatnot. Relationships are forged between the admin team, the moderators, from guys becoming friendly with one another and never meeting each other and whatnot. But then that's where these discussions start coming out of these addictions and things like that. And it goes beyond the food. And there have been several that have talked about sexual addictions of different kinds and whatnot. Is there a common theme of why people become addicted to things?
Ooh. Yeah, I think, that's a deep question there.
You get the next hour to discuss.
Yeah, addiction in general. I think from our human nature, where we're wired, we're wired for ease. And I think with most addictions, there's an instant gratification component to it. It's denying, it's not being able to deny myself now, whether that's lack of discipline or willpower, and seeking an instant hit of gratification. And we can get into kind of, how the dopamine system works and whatnot. But I think at the root of it, I think, we're living in a time unlike any other time in human history, where we literally can get anything we want, not even at a click of a button anymore. I mean, we heard Chris just tell his lights to come on. So we literally can get anything we want right now. I mean, you hungry? Hit a button, food's going to show up to your house. You want your lights to come on? Just tell the lights to come on. You don't have to clap anymore. I mean, in the 90s, you had to clap. It's we've even bypassed that step. You want an answer to something, you go on YouTube and you find it. So I think human nature is to want, the easiest path, or the path of least resistance. But then we're also living in a time and world where we can get anything we want at the click of a button. So I think that is probably, really stemming, addiction in general. Now, speaking directly to, a sexual addiction, that's once again, I'll tie that back to, to human wiring. Procreation is necessary for for the human race to continue. And so there's going to be a driver of lust. And then I think with, once again, where we are in the world right now, with things just being so openly sexualized. I mean, I don't know where you guys, want to take it. I don't want to make it overly, political, but we can see on just how things are accepted, sexually. And so, yeah, there's a lot there. I mean, I don't know if you want to unpack any of that, but yeah, I think a lot of it is stemming due to just our human nature of wanting the path of least resistance, and then the ability to get anything we want at the click of a button.
So the thing that we hear our expert guests on the Superhuman Life regularly talking about is the dopamine hits, which is the same type of hit that we get whenever we take a stimulant type drug, or anything like that. It hits that part of the brain, and excites it, and makes it active and feel good.
Yep.
It triggers all those feel goods. That's kind of a lot of what, from what I picked up, that addiction kind of gets caused by, because you get all of these items that kind of trigger, or it builds up and it gets worse. In my own
Yeah.
journey, I've had my own struggle with aspects of this, where it just I kept having to push a little bit further, do a little bit something more, do a little bit something different, trying to get that same hit, just like having to do a little bit more drugs, having to do a little bit more, getting, luckily unluckily, with this, you don't get the same like chance that you're going to physically overdose on the drug trying to seek that high, but you can kind of overdose to a pretty large degree. Let's talk a little bit about let's talk a little bit about some of the stories, and of course we don't want to personalize these to any specific person, but what are some of the stories of the men that are coming to Rebuilt Recovery, or that you've been coaching? And if nothing else, maybe what are the commonalities that you're seeing with those that cause them to get ensnared or trapped, and what are they doing on a obviously there's a long form method to this that you do as a part of your curriculum and things like that, but what are some of the simple things that they're doing to try and to not try, but actually see victory over, hitting that button over and over and over again, and trying to seek that high?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And yeah, just to piggyback off of kind of what you're saying there, we haven't had him on the show yet. I'm in talks with his people, but the head of the research lab at Stanford has a great way of defining addiction, and it's the narrowing of things that bring you pleasure. And when you think about what you just said there, Chris, it's like you begin to get narrow and narrow and narrow and narrow about what's going to give you that same dopamine hit. And over time, like we can visualize this with drug addicts. We can see the crackhead homeless on the street, or we can see the person that is struggling, through going through rehab with physical withdrawals. With porn, specifically a porn or sex addiction, there's a lot of times we can't physically see what that horrible negative outcome is going to be. I mean, we had a recent event here just last week in Atlanta, which I posted a video on my personal Facebook page, and then I shared it to the other social media platforms here today. This young man, he told us, what he was trying to do. He had a sex addiction, and he was trying to rid himself of the temptations by taking the people out in the massage parlors where he was going to purchase sex. And a young 21-year-old man, I mean, with 99.9% certainty, I can say that this young man was introduced to pornography at a very young age. So, no, to get to your question, Chris, with the clients here, I mean, I've worked with guys that are in their 50s and have been hooked on this thing for 30 years, and we're enrolling a guy this coming week of 21 years old. One thing that is common and consistent with them is all of them struggle with just attention deficit disorder, or just lack of focus. And I think where this stems from, we know the visual impact of pornography is what's recognized or known in the neuroscience world as a supernormal stimulus. So literally from first or second kind of looking at it, once or twice, it begins to activate the frontal part of your brain to a supernormal level. The only other thing in the world that's going to give you that same stimulus effect is going to be these hardcore drugs, cocaine, heroin, anything that's kind of, very, very dopaminergic. So with that, knowing that, okay, once, two times looking at it, you've kind of set and reestablished a new baseline for you. So your brain is now going to have to play catch up. And Dr. Trish Lee did a great job of explaining how this, prevents you from getting into flow states, how it really, pulls your attention. You literally will be sitting down trying to focus on something, but all you can think about are like the stimulus, the images kind of going off in your brain. So I would say one consistent theme that we're seeing from all of them is that, call it lack of focus, call it lack of attention. And then obviously, from more of a heart-centered perspective, I mean, sexual objectification. You can't walk down the street and look at a female without putting her, in a sexual position. You can't walk through the gym, without taking your eyes off of, the girl she's just in there trying to do, glute bridges, but you're envisioning or you're putting her in a position. And that's, as much as, and you said something, Chris, at the beginning, and you said it to me earlier today too. And I've really thought about it all day long. It's like guys say that it's no big deal. And I would push back. I think that's what they want to say. I think that's what they want to believe. But then why are they doing it in secret? Why are they, shameful if somebody, finds out about it? And what this is going to cause cognitive dissonance. So you're saying one thing out of your mouth, but internally, that what you're saying is not being truthful. So this is going to cause a whole nother layer of guilt and shame. So, every single one of the men that I come to, whether they're coming with a faith background or secular, there's no spiritual, component of their life. I mean, I've worked with atheists, I've worked with Christians, I've worked with Muslims. It doesn't matter. They all are dealing with guilt and shame, because even if they say it's okay, even if they say, oh, well, I'm not cheating, they still know that their behavior doesn't align morally with the person that they want to be. And that's a recipe for disaster if you don't get it underhand, or if you don't get it under wraps soon, because now you're literally causing this internal battle inside of you, and only God knows where that can lead to. So yeah, I think so lack of focus, lack of attention, inability to complete things, objectification, guilt, shame. And then, yeah, I mean, we can talk to some of the, the physical side effects as well. I've been pretty open about my struggles with PIED or porn-induced erectile dysfunction. When you begin to train your brain that looking at people having sex is how you get an erection, then it's really hard to get an erection when you're in, the act of trying to have sex. Because once again, taking it from a neuroscience perspective, watching sex and having sex are not the same things, and your brain is firing two different ways. So you begin to train your brain that, watching this activity, objectification, is where an erection is tied to. You literally train your body. I mean, I've heard some graphic stories of men not even being able to get an erection without their hands on a laptop. I had a woman reach out to me earlier this week, pregnant. I mean, she's 6 months pregnant with her boyfriend. They're living together, and she's like, I've known about his porn addiction for a really long time, and I didn't say anything. I just kind of pushed it aside. And it wasn't until he was literally having to watch porn on his phone while making love to his fiance that she realized that it was a problem. And I've heard a lot of stories about this. I've heard stories as extreme of having to watch gay sex. I don't know if it's okay for me to say that here, Chris, but
that's fine.
Literally having to watch gay sex while trying to have sex with a woman. And this speaks to that narrowing of things that bring you pleasure. So, we all started our journey with pornography, probably watching some pretty vanilla stuff. You know, we got off when we were young with just seeing a naked woman. Over time, this can take you down a pretty extreme rabbit hole to where you're having to get into some dark fetishes, and some things that, you know, if you were actually in the act of doing that, like, you probably would run away like a scared little child. Yet you've taught your brain that this is what it's supposed to get. So yeah, there's a lot there, you know, as far as effects. You know, I think what are guys doing that's really helping. First and foremost, it's getting to the point where you truly admit that it is holding you back. You know, that it is preventing you from, using your guys' terminology, becoming, you know, the greatest version of yourself, or, you know, if it's holding me back from launching that job, it's holding me back from actually treating my wife the way that I want to treat her, or it's holding me back from being the father that I know I'm supposed to be for the little girl, that when she looks at me, the sparkle is in her eyes, and when I look back at her, in the back of my brain, I know that, you know, I'm false. You know, I'm not the real man that I'm presenting there. So I think a lot of times it starts with just the admittance of, hey, it's a problem. And then, you know, and then we can kind of get into what some of the other steps are. But I think that's really the first step is the admittance that it is a problem. And then the decision that I'm going to do whatever it takes, because it is a decision. It is a process. If you truly are addicted, you know, which if you try to quit and you can't, that's an addiction. You know, and most people that actually try to do it on their own come to me and say, hey, I tried this for 6 days, and then I was, you know, back in the same position where I was. So once you get to that point, you know, we can kind of take it from there. But was that good?
That's good.
A lot to take in. Talking about all these addictions and everything, and again, trying to go back to our group and whatnot, is every addiction the same in terms of the chemical reactions and the things that fire off in the brain? Because I'm thinking of the guy who runs every day to run in the Boston Marathon. So he's addicted to running. He loves it. He gets the high and things like that. Somebody who is addicted to fitness in general or whatever. I mean, is it the same thing? Or where is the why? Where is the split in going down that dark road versus the healthy road, so to speak?
Yeah, well, I don't think that there is a healthy addiction. And you know, I think that you can have an obsession, you can have healthy habits, you could have healthy practices. But when I speak about addiction, I'm speaking at it from an angle that this is something that is holding you back, or preventing you from high performance, or preventing you from, once again, you know, becoming the greatest version. I know a lot of people that are addicted to fitness. I probably was at one point in my life, you know, addicted to bodybuilding. So in terms of the mechanism that's firing, you know, that dopamine reward center, you know, there's going to be different pathways that get you there, but dopamine is dopamine, and the dopamine system is meant to fire when you're in the pursuit of a goal. So with a fitness addiction, you know, you're getting dopamine. You set a goal, you know, for Chris, it's getting to that 200 mark. He talked about it at the beginning. He's going to get dopamine when he does the activities that are bringing him closer to getting to 200 pounds, you know, going to the gym, resisting the cookie and eating the keto meal or the keto brick. Whatever those activities are that he's identified are going to be the ones that bring me closer to that goal. That's where his dopamine is going to get fired. Now, if Chris had an addiction that had hijacked his reward center, then those activities won't actually give him the hit of dopamine. That's where he's going to have to go and seek out, you know, whether it's porn, whether it's gaming, whether it's gambling. All those activities hijack it, so you no longer get the dopamine in the activities that you actually want to. The only place you're going to be able to get them are the ones that you've literally wired yourself to.
I think the only thing that I would say along with that I think that Frank, you'd agree with, is that there is a certain level of pursuing those things. So like using fitness as an example, if it detracts from your other goals in life, say you escape into fitness so that you don't have to deal with issues in the home between your spouse or your kids,
Yeah.
or you're retreating, into what seems like a good thing, but it's holding you back in another area. It can totally be that as well, and it may not necessarily fall into the same category of addiction, but it can be escapism all the same, and
No,
be
no,
not
that's
so
great. Yeah.
great.
Yeah, that's a great addition. No, escapism. Yeah, I think is just another way to maybe, phrase addiction. But yeah, I mean, we, think about, keeping it here to kind of, more my area of expertise, like with pornography. What are we escaping from? Maybe the wife rejected us because, we told her that we were gonna, clean the house up on Saturday afternoon, and we didn't because, we just got lazy or whatever. So instead of actually facing the fact that, we're not doing what we said we were going to do, we escape that, to go find an instant hit of pleasure, by looking at porn and masturbating. So that's a great perspective, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's. We want to respect your time, and we're coming up on 40 minutes, and we want to make sure that we get the most out of you that we can. What are some of the resources that other than your own, the curriculum that you've created and the coaching that you provide? What are some of the resources? Who are some of the people that you would suggest? And honestly, the easy answer is just go listen to Superhuman Life and go meet everybody, because you're meeting everybody. These guys and gals that you have on the Superhuman Life, they really know their stuff. I'm listening to this week's episode. I'm working through it still right now, and it's I'm forgetting her name, but
Dr.
she's
Caroline Leaf.
yeah, Dr. Caroline Lee. She's just diving so deep into all of it, all of what her expertise is, and it's so awesome. But what are some, and like in the keto world, we'd say, what's your go-to resource to give a beginner? What are some of those go-to resources that you would provide to someone that thinks, okay, I think I have this issue, or I want to get a handle on this, or I want to understand it more?
Yeah, check out Gary Wilson's Your Brain on Porn. The book, it's a small little, 100 and I don't know, 120 pages. It's a short, simple read. Actually, it's 160, 180. But I think he wrote it back in 2015, 2016. I mean, he was kind of at the forefront of really talking about this. So he did an amazing job of bringing a lot of the science, and it's jam-packed with actual resources and references. And then he integrates all the stories. So he's got thousands of people that have sent him letters, that have sent him transformations. And when you realize, and when you read some of these other men's stories, like it all begins to kind of make sense for you. So that would be a great one. Your Brain on Porn. Wired for Intimacy by William Struthers is another great book as well. This talks more about how, the male brain is visually wired, how it differs, from the female brain, and how, like it explains why 80% of the men are, struggling with this, because, taking it back to just that wiring of how we're put together as men. So those are two great resources. I mean, plug, obviously you plug the podcast. So check that out. Also I have a YouTube channel where I produce daily videos, short, 7 to 10 minute. Sometimes they're high level, what's going on. A lot of times it's real actionable, 5 tips to do this week, or, 3 things to do when you're triggered. So those are great. Dr. Trish Lee, who I've had on the podcast a couple times as well, is a neuroscientist of 25 plus years, and is really, really leading the charge now, specifically in this space. So yeah, those would would probably be some of the best kind of initial resources for somebody just getting started and wanting to learn more about this. Yeah.
Yeah. Jim?
Just taking it all in. With your personal experience, you mentioned the February 14th date. What was your moment where you said, I've had enough? Several years ago, I used to smoke, and I got a terrible case of stomach flu. And my house, my garage is attached to the house, and I crawled from my bedroom down the hall to the garage to have a cigarette. And I'm like, this is addiction. This is bad. And I did it. I smoked the cigarette, and when the pack was gone, I quit cold turkey. But that was a pretty embarrassing moment to have a stomach bug and have everything gutted from you, but yet you needed a cigarette that bad. So tell us how you knew that you had your moment of enough is enough.
Yeah, I think it had been, quite some time that I was truly struggling with probably that cognitive dissonance that I talked about. Like I knew my behavior was wrong. I mean, no grown man should, run off into, the Dillard's bathroom while he's shopping with his girlfriend, to look at porn and masturbate because he can't handle himself if he doesn't get a release every few hours. So I'd known quite a while that I had probably had a problem. And then when I actually I heard a podcast with another book that I didn't mention. It's called Surfing for God. The author is Michael John Cusick. When he shared his story on a podcast that I heard in late 2018, where he talked about how it led him into purchasing sex and escorts, and he spent some time in jail. It really opened my eyes up. It was like, Frank, wow, like if you don't actually get this under control, you think your life is bad now, like it can get a whole lot worse. So after hearing that podcast, I began to do some of my own research. I'm kind of a junkie for knowledge and information. So I looked up some of Gary's work. I saw one of his talks on the brain, on porn. But then the real life changing moment came literally sitting in a car when one of my best friends, who was a Marine, told me that he had been struggling with it. So I had read the book, I had heard other people talk about it, but having a conversation with somebody else that I knew personally and somebody that I respected a lot, saying, "Hey, I struggled with this for a really long time, but I think I got it under control." That kind of felt like I had the power to do it then and there. So I made that decision on February 14th. The following day was the computer incident where I shared it with my girlfriend at the time. So a lot of it for me was,
Let's
I,
stop
I,
there
I
for a second. That
yeah,
computer wasn't just a normal computer. That was the secret computer that you kept in the closet that had your
yeah,
porn stash on it.
yes,
Like it was specifically set aside for that purpose, and that's like the junkie that has his secret stash.
yeah.
So that's not something to be glossed over. But yeah, you brought it out. You talked to Stephanie. You
Yeah,
ripped it in two, right?
yeah, right down the middle. And a lot of it back then was, because a part of me at the time thought that Stephanie, like I thought that we were going to be together forever, and I couldn't envision myself being a husband, being a father, and being a fraud. And that's what I saw when I looked in the mirror. Is I saw somebody, I was out there, I was inspiring the world, build muscle, get 6-pack abs because it's gonna create this awesome life for you. And when I looked at myself, I said, "You're a fraud." So a lot of it was that internal battle of like, okay, you're saying one thing, but you have a secret computer. You're doing this behavior. So it really like all just kind of came down. And then 2 days later, there was another event which I talked about in the first episode of the podcast with. I don't know if it was a physical withdrawal, but it had been the first time in probably a decade that I hadn't, had some type of release, where kind of my anger just got control of me. I ended up putting my hand through a wall multiple times. The third one hit the stud in the wall. My hand was shattered, and I was like a broken little, child crying on the floor. But in that moment, I found a lot of peace, because I knew that although my behaviors had led me to act out in the way that it did, that I wasn't ever going back. And then, yeah, a few months went by, my brain rewired and rebooted. And like I said, I began to see the world significantly different than I did for 20 plus years.
Very cool. Let's before we get your socials and things like that here, I want to talk very quickly about uncovering, bringing the curtains back a little bit. There's a side thing that you do to a degree with some other organizations to talk about the thing that we don't realize probably is that most porn is actually shot, with people that are that are being subjected or forced to do it, or their children, or whatever these things might be, the actual porn industry itself is a pernicious and bad thing. There's trafficking involved and all of that. You and I are both involved at this point, at least somewhat, with an organization trying to work against the sex trafficking. Talk a little bit about, from your perspective and the things that you've learned, what men need to know about what actually goes into the production of and the creation of that pornography.
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing this up, Chris. I think people, if people want, I'll provide what I can here, but definitely check out Exodus Cry, check out Trafficking Hub. They're kind of at the forefront of here. But most people, if you have two eyes, you have seen some media coverage in the past three to 4 months of kind of what's been going on with Pornhub. It came out after American Express and Visa pulled their processing from their site. It got some coverage on the New York Times and I believe CNN and Fox News covered it as well. But out of the 12 million videos that they had published on their site at the time, 10 million of them were forced to be pulled down through unverification. And all that means it's prior to what's going on now. Anybody from anywhere in the world, if you had an internet connection, could upload a video to Pornhub. There was no verification of age. There was no verification of consent in the videos. So yeah, obviously, back in the 80s and in previous time, we know that it was more of a produced thing. Like everybody knows who Hugh Hefner was and the other guy that ran Hustler. Like, those were, calling for whatever they are. They were legitimate organizations and companies. These days, because of the money that is in the industry, because of the rise in human trafficking. I think Tim Ballard of Operation Underground Railroad has said that it's the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world. With all $150 billion a year is generated off of human trafficking. And a large portion of that is used in for sex exploitation. So yeah, there's obviously some that's just people are being trafficked and sold through illegal prostitution. But a lot of it is this revenge porn. Like that's a very high search term, revenge porn. This is a boyfriend and girlfriend, that maybe she willingly let him, do it while they were together, but something happens, they break up, or his buddy steals his phone, or somebody hacks into it, and then he goes and uploads to the site. So just understanding that, like, once again, I think it goes back to how can you, and not to be like, I don't want to slam morality on anybody, but if somebody is being abused, or somebody has been trafficked, or somebody is not there through consent, like this really begins to kind of, I feel it's got to eat away at the inside of your heart. So yeah, there's a lot that's coming out, and just like the organization stop the movement that that you were mentioning. I love what they do because, yeah, I think when I mentioned this at the beginning, like we see the outcome, we see the worst possible scenario of a drug addiction. It's in the movies, it's in the films. Nobody talks about what is the worst possible outcome of a porn addiction, and it's that escalation effect that we talked about. You start down here with vanilla, and then over time it's got to get more severe, and then that stops working. So where do you go? Well, then you end up in a massage parlor. You maybe end up purchasing an escort. When that doesn't even work because you can't get them to do what you need, then the only other outcome is to actually purchase a trafficked victim, because when you purchase a trafficked victim, you can do whatever you want. So I think it's, and I don't want people to think that I'm saying just because you look at porn means that you're going to end up buying, a sex slave, but it's we can't not see the connection there. So I think a lot of what we're trying to do here is, if you come out and you see media and you're like, I'm against trafficking, you can't at the same time be going to watch porn, because one fuels the other, and they are as closely tied as any two industries could be.
Yeah, that's what I've been seeing as well, and It's pretty crazy to think that these normally young ladies are being, they're 19, 20, 21, so they're technically legal, but they're shooting these videos to make a dollar, or they're being sold a bill. But you're going to be able to do this X, Y, and Z, but they're totally being played and taken advantage of by whoever it is that's producing the content and all of this stuff. That's just some of the stories that we've heard on your podcast about how thousands and thousands of young people, not just females, are being transported to certain areas for major events so
Yeah.
that the rich and the can have whatever they want. That's just so crazy to me, and they really do, and that's why I bring it up. Porn and trafficking are two halves of one whole, really and truthfully, from
Yep.
everything that I'm learning. And I think for a lot of us guys, just knowing that will be like, oh, I'm not going to touch the stuff. That could be my daughter, that could be my sister, that could be my mom,
Yeah.
whatever the scenario is. That's just so I think that's important to recognize. Frank, how can people connect with you online? You've mentioned the YouTube, and we'll have all the links in the show notes too. But go ahead and shout them out real quick.
Yeah, no. We said the podcast a few times. It is The Superhuman Life. Superhuman is two words. We're on Apple, Spotify, every platform that's out there. The YouTube channel is Rebuild Your Life. And then I'm probably most active socially on Instagram, so that's at The Superhuman Frank. I try to post daily. I miss sometimes, but I'm always active, and I reply to every comment and every message that I do get. I have a resource for anybody that maybe was listening, and it maybe sparks something inside of them, and like, hey, maybe I should start taking some steps. I have a free book that I wrote. It's called The 7-Step Guide to Living Life Without Porn, where it really kind of helps you get clear on the impact that it's had, and then really start building a porn-free day. And I think that's where it starts. Like, you got to have one day porn-free, and then you start to add days on top of that. So I'm about building structure and routines and habits in our life. So that's at the7stepguide.com. And then, Rebuilt Recovery. We're in the process of fully branding this thing out. So I don't know when this will be airing. The website probably won't be live at the time, but anybody that hears this, late 2021, rebuiltrecovery.com will be up and live, and that'll have all the access for, we have some courses and some other stuff kind of in development right now. So really excited about where the future is going for the entire organization.
Very cool. Yeah, this episode actually probably won't air for another like 2 months maybe, because we're that far ahead and recording, and we're
Amazing.
Well, some of that's also, we're going to take a little time and do some easy stuff. We're coming up on 100 episodes, and that's a big deal.
There you
go. So as it stands right now, we're coming up on 100 episodes, so we're going to celebrate some of that by revisiting some old things. But so this may, rebuiltrecovery.com might be live by then. So definitely some great resources. We'll have all the links in the show notes, as always. Reminder to our listeners, if you found this conversation helpful to yourself, or someone that they might find it beneficial, please share this episode with them, whether it be just sending a link or an email or whatever that might be. Feel free to share this with as many people as you think it might impact. I dare say that any man who doesn't already have a handle on this probably needs to hear this message, and needs to be introduced to this topic, at least, because we, even if we don't have a traditional porn issue, we still have addictive issues, and all of this correlates. It really does all get handled similarly, and this is important, I think. You can connect with us, the hosts and the podcast, through our website, theketomansclub.com. And all of that, I gave the links and the email address earlier, so I won't reiterate those again. Jim, any other last minute business before we say goodbye for the day?
No, definitely a heavy topic, but I appreciate your honesty. It's not something that probably everybody can talk about and whatnot, but the fact that you're sharing it, and as you said, you had a friend who shared his experiences and whatnot. Definitely a ripple effect. So grateful for that, Frank. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think, yeah, if I can do anything, it's addressing these conversations. And like I told you guys at the beginning, I'm grateful for both of you. I'm grateful for all of the listeners that stuck around with us today. I do know that it's it tweaks and ekes a little bit when the topic comes up, but no, I do think it's something that needs to be addressed, and hopefully it helps somebody today. So thank you guys.
Agreed. Very good. Well, that's it for this week. Make sure to eat meat, lift heavy, sleep, and repeat.